Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Ever wonder why New Orleans feels like the official home of vampires, witches, and voodoo in America? Is it just Hollywood hype, or is there something deeper lurking in those misty, gaslit streets? Today, we're diving into the history, myths, and real spiritual traditions that make this city so enchanting and mysterious. Let's start with the big one: vampires. Why New Orleans? The first reason is the city itself. Just look at it. The French Quarter is a maze of narrow streets, lined with centuries-old buildings wrapped in ornate iron balconies. At night, the flickering gas lamps cast long dancing shadows. Then there are the cemeteries, with their famous above-ground tombs that look like miniature Gothic castles for the dead. The humid, foggy air hangs heavy, creating an atmosphere that feels ancient, sensual, and undeniably spooky. It's the perfect backdrop for a creature of the night. But the real reason New Orleans became the vampire capital of the world can be summed up in two words: Anne Rice. Before she came along, vampires were mostly associated with Dracula and the spooky castles of Eastern Europe. But in 1976, Anne Rice, a New Orleans native, published Interview with the Vampire, the first book in her Vampire Chronicles series. Her vampires weren't just monsters, they were complex, tragic, and incredibly alluring figures who lived, loved, and brooded right there in the Garden District and the French Quarter. They made vampirism elegant and seductive. When the book became a massive hit and later a blockbuster movie, the connection was sealed. Pop culture had officially moved the vampires home from Transylvania to New Orleans. So, are vampires just a myth? Well, yes and no. The immortal blood-drinking creatures we know are folklore, but the belief in them has very real historical roots. In the past, diseases like porphyria could cause symptoms like severe sun sensitivity and facial changes, and tragically, there have always been disturbed individuals and serial killers who acted on dark impulses, including drinking blood. For centuries, people genuinely believed the dead could rise to harm the living. In the 1700s and 1800s, there were real vampire panics in Europe and even New England, where people would dig up graves to stop the supposed undead. So while supernatural vampires are a myth, the human fear behind them is a very real part of our history. Now let's move on to something that isn't a myth at all: witchcraft and voodoo. This connection goes much deeper than any fictional story. To understand New Orleans, you have to realize it was never just another slice of Christian America. Most of the early US was dominated by English Protestant culture. New Orleans, on the other hand, was a true melting pot. It was founded by the French, ruled by the Spanish, and built by the hands and cultures of enslaved Africans, free people of color, and Haitian refugees, all interacting with Native American spiritual traditions. Instead of one culture erasing the others, they all blended together, creating something entirely new. This brings us to voodoo. And let's be clear, we're not talking about the Hollywood version with pins in dolls and evil curses. That's mostly sensationalism. Louisiana voodoo is a real, legitimate spiritual and religious system. Its roots are in the traditional religions of West Africa, which were brought to the New World by enslaved people. Over time, it blended with the French Catholicism that was dominant in the city, with African spirits, or LWA, becoming associated with Catholic saints as a way to continue their practices in secret. At its core, voodoo is about connecting with ancestors, honoring nature, and using spiritual energy for healing, protection, and guidance. It was a source of power, community, and identity for a people who had everything taken from them. The dark magic and devil worship tropes were largely created by outsiders who feared and misunderstood these powerful African traditions. And you can't talk about voodoo in New Orleans without mentioning the queen herself, Marie Laveau. She was a real historical figure in the 19th century, and she was one of the most powerful people in the city. Marie Laveau was a voodoo priestess, a healer, a midwife, and a community leader. She was both respected and feared by everyone, from the enslaved people in the swamps to the wealthy white politicians in their mansions. Her influence was immense, and her legacy cemented New Orleans' reputation as America's spiritual crossroads. Her tomb is still one of the most visited sites in the city, with people leaving offerings in hopes of receiving her blessing. So where does witchcraft fit into all of this? The lines often blur. Witchcraft became a term for the folk magic practices that flourished alongside voodoo. In a society where women, especially black women, were denied any formal power, spiritual knowledge was a way to claim authority. Using herbs, charms, spells, and rituals became practical tools for everyday life to find love, protect a home, seek justice, or heal the sick. In many other parts of America, these practices would have been brutally suppressed, like during the Salem witch trials. But in New Orleans, they were just part of the city's unique spiritual landscape. So why did all of this happen in New Orleans and not somewhere like Boston or Charleston? It comes down to a few key factors. New Orleans was geographically and culturally isolated from the strict puritanical control that shaped New England. Its Catholic roots were more tolerant of mysticism and ritual than Protestantism. Most importantly, the city's unique demographic mix allowed African traditions not just to survive, but to thrive and adapt. New Orleans embraced storytelling, music, and ceremony. It was a place that always seemed comfortable with the idea that there is more to reality than what we can see. So the next time you hear New Orleans mentioned, with vampires, witches, and voodoo, you'll know the deeper truth. The vampire connection is a modern myth born from the city's gothic beauty and a brilliant author's imagination, but its reputation for witchcraft and voodoo is deeply real, rooted in a history of survival, cultural blending, and the enduring power of spirituality. New Orleans isn't cursed or dark, it's a city that's ancient, layered, and spiritually alive, where the stories of the past are still speaking to us today. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the heart of New Orleans, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history and culture. See you next time.